What's up, everyone? Welcome to Talk Verdi to Me. I'm Carter, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Mount to Coast R1. So I'm a little bit late on this shoe. It came out over a year ago now at this point, but I just hit 250 miles running in this shoe, and with one of the main selling points of the shoe being its durability, I thought it'd be interesting to give a review based on that. So this is Mount to Coast's debut shoe. It's a brand that's positioned themselves sort of as a ultra-specific shoe company, with the R1 being their road racing ultra-marathon shoe. And I think that's, a little bit gimmicky. I think that this is just a good quality shoe that works at all paces, and is a fairly durable, stable, and predictable ride. And so does that make this good for ultramarathons? Yes, it definitely does, but it makes it good for just daily training as well. So the shoe has a 36 millimeter stack in the heel and a 28 millimeter stack in the forefoot for an 8 millimeter drop. A pretty medium to honestly high on paper stack height, but it does not feel that way in terms of how it feels compared to other shoes I'm running in, like the Adidas Evo SL, which is sort of like a, very much a higher stack height shoe. This feels honestly sort of low and minimal, honestly. Maybe it's just because I'm running in high stack shoes. But I have this in the New Balance Rebel V4, and the stack honestly doesn't feel that different, even though on paper they are. The Rebel is definitely much more flexible on the forefoot versus this is pretty stiff, even though it doesn't have any plate. But yeah, it's a refreshingly proprioceptive ride. It has some ground feel, which is kind of nice sometimes. But I rarely wish that I had more stack than this. On the really easy days when I'm beat up and I want to go for my recovery 4 or 5 miles, I have my New Balance Fresh Foam More, which will soak up everything, and that's not what this is meant for. I wouldn't call this a recovery shoe, but I think outside of recovery, it can handle everything else really well. And I've taken this at paces 10-minute pace on really slow days, up to, I haven't quite done VO2 max runs in the 5:20 and faster pace, but I've done threshold, so 5:40-minute miles, and a lot of marathon type effort, so that 6 to 6:30 minute pace for me, at least I wish. And it feels really good up to that marathon pace, 6:30 pace for me. And then it starts to get a little bit, not mushy, but not as poppy as I would like faster than that. So when I'm trying to run threshold to VO2 max, I just, honestly, I like to have a plate or a lot of foam sometimes when I'm doing that. And this just doesn't provide that. But if I'm running at 50K pace, this shoe feels amazing. And I think a lot of that is because of the foam that it uses. So it uses, they call it their light cell foam. But really it's a PIBA EVA blend along with some nitrogen infused supercritical sort of process there too. It's not super specific. All I got is that it definitely has PIBA in it, which is that really nice bouncy super foam, but also some sort of supercritical process, which I think makes it a much firmer foam than your traditional PIBA that you think of, but also increases the durability a lot. And so they sort of tout this as an extremely durable shoe, sort of claiming that you can get 800 miles out of it or something. I usually don't take my shoes much past 300 miles just because, I don't want to risk them breaking down, and I like buying new shoes and trying new things out. But I'm at 250 miles in this shoe, and it feels brand new in terms of the foam. I think I will take this shoe to 500 miles, which is pushing it a lot for me, and I won't feel like I'm risking anything with that. And so that's really exciting, especially for a shoe that's $160 US, and has a super-ish foam. Yeah, it's really hard to beat for the price point and durability. I think that if you're looking for just a classic daily trainer that you can do most of your runs in, you're not really going to beat value for money here. And then in terms of the upper and sort of the fit of the shoe, it has a nice, very wide accommodating toe box. It doesn't look like an ultra shoe, but I can splay out my toes very well in the shoe, which is really nice. And it has also this sort of two-part lacing where you tie the laces up in the first half of the tongue, and then the bottom half has a separate like drawstring, sort of like quick lace system, and that's supposed to allow you to like loosen the forefoot when your feet swell later into a long run. I've used this a little bit where normally on my easy runs and daily runs I have it very loose, sort of as loose as it can go, and it really allows my feet to like splay really well, which is nice. But then if I'm taking it up to faster paces, it does feel sloppy if I don't tighten it up. So I actually have found it useful, not really for foot swelling, but I haven't taken this longer than I think 22 miles. And so I haven't really dealt with the foot swelling much, and so maybe that would be helpful, especially as you start to get like, maybe some toenail damage later into a road ultra. But I've never done a road ultra, so I haven't really gotten to use this very much. And then on the outsole of the shoe, it has like a very like plasticky feeling rubber on the outsole. I think it is a TPU outsole. They have two options though, a rubber version and this TPU version. And it makes it so that it doesn't have like the best grip ever. I got the shoe originally in December, and so I did some runs in it in slush and ice, and it was really bad in that, quite frankly. And it's still not great on like, I have a gravel rail trail that I run on very often. It's all right, but I have most road shoes do better on it. Sometimes this can slip out a little bit because there's like basically not much texture to it. And it's just not a very grippy outsole rubber, but it's held up pretty well. I thought that it was going to wear out because I was getting wear in the forefoot here. I get wear a lot in the toes up here, but I sort of like noticed that 50 miles in and was like, shoot, that might be an issue, and it hasn't really gotten worse. So that sort of has been all right. So yeah, I really like this shoe. I think that it's probably the best like daily trainer that I've ever found. And will continue to use it as such. I would not really I don't think I'd race any distance in it, because no matter how far I'm going, maybe if I was doing like a road 100-mile or something like that, but typically I want to go fast and use a like plated super shoe or super trainer. I'd probably, if I was, racing a road 50K to 100K, I'd use something like a Saucony Endorphin Speed, or even like a full-on road super shoe like the Puma DV8 Nitro Elite 3. So I think that kind of lacks, and I really hope that Mount Coast makes a true road racing shoe at some point. I know that they're coming out with a much more like diverse lineup of shoes, with the T1, a trail shoe, and the H1, sort of like a road to trail gravel shoe that Cole Crosby recently wore at the Vermont 100K. And I'd love if they could position this more as their trainer, and then have like a true super shoe. That would be fantastic, and would really would complete the company's shoe quiver. Because I do know that they have daily trainers positioned alongside this shoe. I think the S1 and the P1, and I honestly can't really picture a use case for those shoes. I think I would always grab this for that. So that's sort of my quick review of the Mount Coast R1. I really like it. I think it's a great daily trainer. I would not race in it, but I think it works at all paces on the road. Yeah, if you liked this video, please like it, subscribe to the channel, and as always, keep on running.